Welcome. In this video, we're going to continue to work on our walk cycle, and to continue, we're actually going to work first on our spine, the weight distribution going on with the spine, before we get into secondary motion there. So you can see that we're quite robotic. We just have our very basic extreme poses on for our limbs, our timing worked out with our hip up and down, and now what we want to do is begin to add some nice weight distribution to this so it looks a little bit more natural. To do that, we're going to consider the natural movement of the human spine as it's walking, and again work from the root node out. Now when I have my leg up, you're actually going to see that pelvis rock down as the weight is carried through in the up leg. So what we're going to do to start is go ahead and rotate that pelvis to carry the weight of that up pose. Now I'm going to go quite dramatic with my rotation, but of course to get it to look natural, you don't need to do that much rotation. Now you'll notice that the entire body has turned, and what we want to do is get the counterbalance in there now. So with the direction that you rotated the hips, you're going to go in the counter direction, the opposite direction with that chest node. Clicking on the chest node, and you're going to go ahead and rotate that chest back just a little bit. And I'm paying attention to where my grid line is. And then of course the head is involved, that sits right on top of the spine, and I'm going to go ahead and pull that back just a little bit the other way. Now when your weight is distributed, you're actually going to also be shifting weight back and forth on one side. So we're going to do that just a tiny bit, but the focus really is getting the weight over the limbs. So I'm going to start with that. I'm going to grab that limb that is squarely planted on the ground. I'm going to push that right under the full weight of the character there, using that grid line as my marker. Just pulling that right in there. And remember, I'm on frame 5 when I do that. I've got a little bit of a hiccup here. Alright, so now you can see that on frame 10. It's in my old position. I'm going to go ahead and put that right against that grid line like I did the previous keyframe. And I just want to keep that foot squarely planted on the ground. When it's raised up again in the air, it's okay if it resumes that out position. But for the time being, what we're going to do is make sure that the foot is bearing the weight. Now let me check for error here. I have an additional keyframe where I don't need it here. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. It's going to get in the way. Alright. And that might be the full body here. Okay. Alright, so on frame 5 now, just to recap, we've got the root node rotated to bear the weight of that up leg. The up leg is now pulling down on that side of the pelvis, rocking it in that direction. The weight-bearing leg is under the body mass. The chest is rotating the opposite direction to offset or to balance the rotation on the pelvis, and then the head is going to try to keep that as straight as possible, but it'll rock the other way, which is also a counterbalance move. Just want to keep that head as square as possible as it's moving. It should be nice and consistent so that it doesn't end up looking wonky. Alright, so as we scrub forward in our animation, you can see that foot goes back on the ground. Now we need to do the opposite for this particular side. We're going to start with that root node. It's the right leg that's bearing weight now, performer right. We're going to go ahead and rotate that hip, counterbalance with the shoulder, and again balancing back with the head. Make sure that that is in the proper position. The weight bearing leg is pulled over under the body mass there. And let's go ahead and scrub that. When that foot comes down, it should be in that, planted in that position. Stay there, and then of course we don't want it to slide out. It's still on the ground, it should remain. And just notice that I'm pulling on that one axis. That leg is still moving in the side view, and I don't want to destroy that movement by grabbing it in the center. I want to just pull that X value over to the center there and keep that planted. There we go. So now we have a lot of serpentine movement in the spine that we need to get on the hookup pose on frame 25. So what we're going to do is go ahead and select on the nodes that were involved in that, making sure that we get them all. Right click, copy those, and paste them into position on the other side there. There we go. If we play, we can begin to see a little bit more natural movement. I've got a foot slide I can see right away there. So let's go ahead and get that corrected. Whoops. Got more than one node corrected there. Just selecting the one and making sure that that foot is landing where it should. Okay, playback. Alright, we've got some weight distribution going on. We've got the foot now bearing the weight under the body rather than off to the side in a robotic fashion. We've got counterbalance in the chest and the head. And we've got our arms swaying back and forth to continue that movement. In the side, it's still nice and robotic. We're going to begin working on that by giving a little bit more rotation to the spine and the shoulder, but in a different direction. So join me for the next section as we develop our walk cycle.